It's the Screen Team right here on KWOC. If you don't know about us, you should, because we're all about movie reviews. We love movies. We've got a lot of different reviewers who come in and kind of give their opinion on some of their favorite movies. And we've got a brand new reviewer for us with this segment. His name is Brad. Brad, first off, man, welcome to the show and welcome to the team.
Thank you, Chris. I'm glad to be here.
Brad, first off, let's know you a little bit better.
You bet.
You love movies? What kind of movies you like, man?
I'm a big fan of action movies. I'm a big fan of action movies that incorporate comedy. I'm a big fan of movies like Rush Hour, Die Hard, things like that. They have a comic element in addition to the action.
Yeah, so you're definitely into the action ones. I know you're married. You got a family. Do you
Right.
get into the Disney ones or romantic comedies? Are you forced to watch those?
By default, I'm into Disney movies. I have twin daughters, and they're just over a year old now, and they're big into the Disney movies. They love them, and they don't really understand what's going on, but their eyes stay glued to it. And I'm starting to get into it. It's kind of like the whole guy that stays home from work for a few days because he's sick and gets into soap operas.
Right.
I feel like that with Disney movies. So,
the movie we're going to be doing this evening is a movie called Vacation. And for those who aren't familiar with it, this is kind of a spin-off of the National Lampoon's Vacation series. If you're familiar with National Lampoon's Vacation, there was also European Vacation, Christmas Vacation, Vegas Vacation.
all over the place, vacations.
Vacations all over the place. So if you're familiar with those movies, you know about the Griswolds. Mm-hmm. And they have a son in each one of those. His name's Rusty, right?
His name is Rusty, and every single movie it's always played by a different character, which I find to be funny. And every child in the movie is played by a different character. Only the adults are played by the same people in every movie.
Yeah, Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo, I think,
exactly,
is the two actors who play those parts. So basically, it's a spin-off, like I said, and basically we're following adult Rusty. We've always seen Rusty. He's always been a kid, like you said. This time, he's an adult.
Right.
And what is he, like an airplane pilot?
He's actually a commercial airline pilot for apparently like a not quite so prestigious airline that maybe have had some accidents in the past, I believe, and they're trying to make a good name for themselves.
Yeah.
It's kind of the beautiful loser situation. He's this very good-natured, has good intentions with his family, but he just can't catch a break. Kind of like in the original Lampoon movies where Chevy Chase was always falling into bad luck, even though he wanted so badly to make his family happy and proud of him.
Yeah. So Rusty kind of realizes this, and he's like, man, we got to do something to change things up, to get my family back together and on a good footing. So he's like, I remember when I went on vacation to Wally World, which is what the first vacation movie was all about, going to Wally World. So he's like, I'm going to recreate that, and we're gonna do this, and my family's going to come along, and it's going to be awesome.
Exactly. They head off to Wally World instead of doing the more, I guess you could say, the more culturally friendly things like going to Paris or going to Costa Rica or something like that. He decides to take them back to the old favorite, which is Wally World, and it's basically a knockoff of Walt Disney World or things like that. And anybody who's seen the original National Lampoon movies knows like the pitfalls that Chevy Chase encountered when he took his family to Wally World. Well, the same kinds of pitfalls, not exactly the same spin as they used to have, but more of a modern spin. He has, they make cultural references that are more modern, like spinning and Facebook and things like that.
Yeah. So, okay, that's a basic storyline. Were you a fan of the movie?
I was a fan of the movie. I actually kind of went into it skeptical because generally sequel-type movies aren't as good as the originals.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to consider this vacation movie a true sequel to the original because it's a completely independent storyline. You could make a whole series of new vacation-style movies with this family that Russ is heading up now that he's grown up.
Right.
It's not the same core cast. It is true that Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo do make a cameo in this movie, but the movie's about Russ and his family, Rusty, and their little pitfalls that they encounter. So really, you could say it's a sequel, but really, in a way, it's not. It's kind of a new storyline of its own.
So Ed Helms plays the new version of Rusty. What'd you think about him?
At first I didn't really care for his acting, but then after he made a few jokes in there, it really kind of captured my attention. I actually kind of underappreciated him initially because I know he was in, I believe, Office Space. That was a TV show that he used to act in.
The Office.
Or The Office. I'm sorry, The Office.
Yeah.
There was an actor from The Office Space in the movie. Chris Livingston, I believe, is his name.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Several cameos, by the way.
Yeah.
But no, actually, he grew on me quite a bit. He does a very good deadpan face and pulls off that whole, innocent, beautiful loser type of personality that I think Rusty needs, because that's kind of how Rusty was as a kid.
His wife is played by Christina Applegate, and of course, familiar name, been in a lot of stuff. How did she do in this movie?
I thought she did pretty well. Christina Applegate, as serious as she looks most of the time, is incredibly good at comedic acting. She's been in what I think of as The Anchorman. You've seen her in The Anchorman with Will Ferrell. If you can pull off a comedic movie with Will Ferrell and make it work, then you're doing something right.
And what she did so great in that movie was she wasn't just a pretty face. She pulled,
right.
When she got punched, she punched right back with those jokes.
Right. She has a delivery, and I think that's 90% of comedy is the way you deliver it, because two people can say the same line that's funny, but one person's funny with it and the other person may not be.
Exactly.
And she has that gift. She has that comedic timing. And actually, I think she's a better comedic actor than she is serious actor. I'm sure she'd be mad if she heard me say that, but I believe she did a good job.
We're getting a call right now. It must be Christina Applegate.
Might be. It might be.
One of my favorite characters in this movie was the youngest son of the Griswolds. He is a firecracker, to say the least, and
he is, and his language,
funny jokes, yeah,
and that's one thing too. If you go to see, if you decide that you're going to take your family and go rent this movie or go to Redbox or whatever and pull it out and watch it at home, it's not something for the young kids, even though it does have a family type of feel to it because of the family going on vacation.
Yeah. This
young boy, he's a bully, and he's got a foul mouth and fouler than anything that you would have ever heard in any of the other Lampoon movies, and he's pretty funny. I kind of think he was a good foil to the more sensitive type that his older brother played, and it was kind of funny how it was the younger brother picking on the older brother, and they made lots of references about how weird that was in the movie.
Yeah.
I think he was a great actor.
So just out of curiosity, did you watch this by yourself? Did you watch this with your wife?
I actually watched this by myself. I knew it wasn't appropriate for my daughters, and my wife isn't a fan of that kind of humor. Yeah, so on this one, I watched it by myself to kind of get a good, isolation. And
but even watching it by yourself, it was still funny and enjoyable to you.
Absolutely. Actually, there were several parts that I rewound several times to watch over again. In particular, a scene involving the hot springs, and it's supposed to be set in Hot Springs, Arkansas, where the family believes it's just natural hot springs that you can take a dip in, like at a spa, and they turns out it's actually raw sewage. And the funniest part to me was knowing what they were doing and seeing the dad, Rusty, gargling the water out of the hot spring. I thought that was my type of humor right there.
So, Brad, if people are fans of the original National Lampoon's just Vacation, do you think they'll like this one?
I think so. I think if you're a fan of the general the whole culture of the whole National Lampoon's Vacation movies, I think you'll like it. If you're like me, you'll probably still appreciate the original version more because it just has that nostalgic feel. And if you've seen the original version a long time ago when it first came out, you probably are so old you're probably not going to dig the new cultural references. But I think it does a pretty good job. I think it's possible to bring a literal sequel for this line of actors, and I could see them making more movies that were successful with it.
Very good. Brad, dude, great job, man.
Thank you.
Did a great job for your first time. You come back?
You betcha.
Awesome. Of course, that was the movie Vacation. You can find it on DVD. We'll be back at you next Saturday with a few more films for you as we review them. We'll review an old movie back from the early 1990s starring Chuck Norris. It's called Sidekicks. We'll review that one. We'll also review the George Clooney film, The Men Who Stare at Goats, and we'll finish things off with the brand new animated film, Sing. It's all coming your way next Saturday at 6 p.m. For Brad and Chris, we are the Screen Team right here on KWOC.